Amanda Knox was wrongfully convicted in Italy in the murder of her roommate more than 17 years ago.
American college student Amanda Knox, labeled Foxy Knoxy by the tabloids.
American Amanda Knox convicted in Italy tonight.
One of the most sensational criminal cases in recent modern times is the Amanda Knox case. The tragic killing of Meredith Kercher back in 2007 to the eventual exoneration of Amanda Knox was a story with more twists and turns than any could have anticipated. The investigation, the trial, and how media framed public opinion. Imagine going to sleep in one country and waking up several thousand miles away to find yourself in the middle of a very nasty murder investigation. Somebody has framed you for something heinous which you swear you didn't commit. The media portrays you as a cold-blooded killer, and the justice system seems to work against you. And with every passing day, the world watches, judges, and speculates. This is the shocking story of Amanda Knox, an ordinary college student whose life took a terrifying turn in 2007. A tragic murder, a flawed investigation, a media circus which turned a young woman into an international villain. Or was she an innocent victim caught in a web of injustice? Join me as we navigate some of the most sensationalized true crimes to have ever made headline news around the world, to find out what really went on in the case of Amanda Knox. Thursday, November 1st, 2007, ought to have passed like any other day of the uneventful evening in the quaint town of Perugia in Italy. And that night it was to become one of carnage when, within an apartment situated in the self-same city of Perugia, on the floor lay brutally murdered Meredith Kercher, 21-year-old British exchange student. It sounded like a story from a terrible nightmare. A slit throat and the floor totally drenched with blood markings due to violent struggles. An image of terror. Investigators worked around the clock, searching for clues. The crime was shocking, brutal, and deeply unsettling. Who could have done something so horrific? And more importantly, why? As the investigation unraveled, this unlikely suspect took shape in the unlikely person of Meredith's own roommate, Amanda Knox, a 20-year-old American exchange student who had become an end to Perugia for only several months, studying and embracing an Italian lifestyle. But soon, whispers of suspicion grew louder, and one asked oneself if it was possible. Could this young, carefree American girl do such a horrific thing? Close-ups of police reports, interrogations, and tabloid headlines that painted Knox as a cold-hearted femme fatale. Add to that the fact Amanda was dating 23-year-old Italian student Raffaele Solicito. The two had been together only a week, and suddenly, in an instant, the police had a theory. This was a crime of passion. Some sort of twisted love triangle driven by jealousy, drugs, and reckless behavior. But was anything concrete behind such shocking claims, or was it something more sinister? With mounting pressure, Amanda and Raphael found themselves trapped in a whirlwind of accusations, sensationalized by the media. But the truth, as we'll soon uncover, was far more complex than anyone could have imagined. As days passed, the investigation into Meredith Kercher's murder took an unsuspected and strange turn. Lawmen were eager for answers and soon focused their attention on Amanda Knox and her then-boyfriend Raffaele Solicito. But something didn't sit right with the investigators or the public. Amanda's behavior seemed off. Rather than exhibiting what many expected to be overwhelming grief, she was seen laughing, kissing Raphael, and even shockingly doing cartwheels inside the police station.
Drugs, doing yoga exercises in the police station after the roommate was murdered. She quickly attracted the attention of the prosecutor.
To authorities, this wasn't the reaction of an innocent woman mourning her roommate. But was it truly suspicious? Or was it simply a 20-year-old American girl dealing with shock in an unfamiliar culture?
Amanda Knox was 20. She came from a broken home in Seattle and acting in a way that, let's say, Italian girls of that age don't,
In came the interrogation, some of the most hotly debated minutes of the case. Amanda went through an inquisition all night that lasted several hours. No lawyer, no recorded transcript, just relentless pressure from investigators convinced she was hiding something. At one point during the grueling session, Amanda crashed. Pushed, she went into self-contradictive statements and foggy recollection. And then she perpetrated a bomb. She accused her own employer, Patrick Lumumba, claiming that she remembered being at Meredith's crime scene when Meredith had been killed. But there was one snag to this confession. It was completely fabricated. Patrick Lumumba had an airtight alibi. He had nothing whatsoever to do with the crime. And yet, despite all the lack of evidence, the job was done. Amanda Knox and Rafael Solicito were arrested for Meredith's murder, paraded in front of the media like convicted criminals before their trial had even begun. The world had found its villain, and the headlines wrote themselves Foxy Knoxy, the seductive, manipulative femme fatale, who had allegedly played a part in a brutal crime. But was Amanda a cold-blooded killer, or did the rush to judgment in one of the most shocking miscarriages of justice in modern history get brought on by the media frenzy? The prosecution depicted Amanda as a manipulative femme fatale, an American seductress who had turned Meredith into some sort of drug-related sex game that had escalated into a brutal murder. Erratic, unpredictable, dangerous, they made her out to be.
You'd seen there was some blood on the towel or the bath mat in the bathroom. Nobody was there, and she'd had a shower and then she'd gone back to Raphael.
The media clung to this story, amplifying it to global proportions. But while this made for sensational headlines, the real question remained. Was there any hard evidence? The so-called smoking gun in the case? A kitchen knife found in Rafael Solicito's apartment. Prosecutors said it held damning evidence. Meredith's DNA on the blade and Amanda's on the handle. It seemed like an open and shut case, until forensic experts took a closer look. Later, forensic analysis would throw grave doubt on the reliability of this evidence. The DNA trace on the blade was minuscule, too slight to link unequivocally with Meredith. The real possibility of contamination existed. The case against them was circumstantial, and yet already public opinion was loaded against Amanda and Raphael. A video of news footage of the result of the judgment, reporters lining up outside, a tense mob waiting. Gasps ripple across the room. The judge passes the verdict. Then, in December 2009, the moment of truth finally came. The courtroom fell silent while the verdict was read out guilty. Amanda Knox was sentenced to 26 years in prison, Raphael to 25. The Italian justice system had spoken, but this was only just the beginning of a near-decade-long legal battle. After 4 years behind bars, Amanda Knox and Raffaele Solicito were granted an appeal. In 2011, a key re-evaluation of the forensic evidence turned the case against them on its head. Experts said DNA evidence, what was to have been the smoking gun for the prosecution, was deeply flawed. The knife? Too small, an unreliable sample. The bra clasp said to link Raphael to the crime? Contaminated. No convincing motive and no reliable physical evidence, the case against them began falling apart. Then, in a stunning reversal, the court overturned the convictions. Amanda and Raphael were acquitted. After years of imprisonment, Amanda Knox was finally free to return home to the United States. For the first time in years, Amanda could breathe. But while she had escaped her prison cell, she could never escape the stigma. The world had already made up its mind about her. Just when Amanda thought the nightmare was over, it took another shocking turn. In 2013, Italy's Supreme Court ordered a retrial, reviving the case that had haunted her for years. And in 2014, another devastating blow. She was convicted once again. It seemed like she would never be free. But in 2015, after almost 8 years of fighting for justice, the highest court of Italy finally declared Amanda Knox cleared once and for all.
Thank you to everyone who's believed in me, who's defended me.
I was accused of having maliciously and knowingly implicated an innocent man in this crime.
We now respectfully ask you to give Amanda and the rest of our family our privacy that we need to recover from this horrible ordeal. Thank you.
Amanda Knox's acquitted case finally closed. The court battle was over, but to Amanda Knox, the damage was already done. Her name would be eternally linked with one of history's most sensational murder cases. To this date, the question remains, was she a victim of erring justice, or would the world always see her as Foxy Knoxy, the woman at the center of a crime that shook the world? The nickname Foxy Knoxy, once an innocent childhood soccer moniker, was twisted into something far more sinister. Headlines focused on her looks, her relationships, her behavior. Everything except the actual evidence. The press fed the public a narrative rather than the truth. And once a story takes hold, it becomes nearly impossible to change. Years later, Amanda Knox is no longer just a headline. She's an advocate. She speaks out against wrongful convictions, the failures of the justice system, and the dangers of trial by media. She knows firsthand how easily someone's life can be ruined by a story, rather than by the truth. The Amanda Knox case is a sobering reminder of how fragile justice can be. One moment, you are a college student studying abroad. The next, you are the prime suspect in a crime that sends shockwaves across the world. But was Amanda truly guilty? Or was she a pawn in a flawed justice system and of a media storm that blurred the lines between truth and fiction? If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories. We uncover the truth behind the headlines, one case at a time.